Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Young and the Restless channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and hit like for more daily drama updates and spoilers. Your support truly means a lot and helps our channel grow every day. Now, let's jump straight into today's exciting update. The next 2 weeks on The Young and the Restless promise an emotional storm unlike anything Genoa City has faced in recent memory, where family loyalties are pushed to the breaking point, old wounds are ripped open, and desperate choices threaten to change lives forever. At the center of the chaos stands Kyle Abbott, quietly stepping into dangerous territory as he begins watching from the shadows, determined to rescue his mother before it is too late. Yet, as events spiral beyond anyone's control, Kyle may soon realize that saving Diane is only half the battle, because his father could be heading straight into an even greater disaster. At the same time, another powerful family finds itself facing heartbreak as Victor Newman struggles beneath the crushing weight of guilt, desperately searching for a way to repair the damage he has done to the woman he has loved for decades. Across Genoa City, hope, fear, betrayal, and redemption collide, setting the stage for 2 unforgettable weeks that promise shocking twists at every turn. Everything begins on Monday, June 29th, when fate unexpectedly brings Billy Abbott and Kane Ashby to the Genoa City Athletic Club after both receive the very same mysterious message. Neither man knows exactly why he has been summoned, and the tension between them is already simmering long before they walk through the doors. Waiting inside is Jill Abbott, who surprises them both with an appearance that immediately changes the atmosphere. Because Jess Walton was unavailable to film, Lauren Koslow steps into the role for several episodes, but Jill's commanding presence remains just as powerful as ever. It doesn't take long before the reason for the meeting becomes clear, and Billy learns that Kane has officially become the new CEO of Chancellor. The revelation lands like a punch to Billy's gut, reopening old resentments that have never truly healed. Billy cannot hide his outrage. His frustration boils over almost instantly as he launches into an emotional rant about Chancellor, the company he once believed should have been his future. Kane calmly explains that Lily Winters made the decision after Victor Newman handed control over to her following the elaborate fake kidnapping scheme. Instead of easing the tension, Kane's explanation only fuels Billy's anger even further. Sharp insults begin flying across the table as the two men exchange increasingly personal attacks, each word carrying years of unresolved bitterness. Watching Jill express genuine satisfaction over Kane's leadership only deepens Billy's sense of betrayal, making him feel as though his own mother has chosen someone else over her own son once again. In the middle of this emotional battlefield, Billy suddenly changes the conversation with life-changing news that catches everyone completely off guard. He reveals that he and Sally Spectra are not only engaged, but are also expecting a baby together. Kane is visibly surprised by the announcement, while Jill's first reaction is irritation that her son kept such enormous news from her. Yet those feelings quickly melt away as the reality sinks in. The thought of welcoming another grandchild fills Jill with genuine excitement, briefly softening the conflict that has consumed the conversation. Unfortunately, the peace does not last for long. Billy quickly circles back to his deepest grievance, accusing Jill of taking Chancellor away from him before selling it to Victor, and then turning his anger toward Kane by branding him a liar and a cheat. The confrontation escalates until it threatens to explode completely. Billy and Kane move beyond harsh words as the argument grows increasingly heated, forcing Jill to step between them before things spiral entirely out of control. With unmistakable disappointment, Jill tells Billy exactly what he does not want to hear, that his impulsive nature makes him unfit to lead Chancellor. Kane reinforces her point, urging Billy to stop obsessing over old battles and instead focus on the family waiting for him with Sally and their unborn child. It is advice Billy clearly isn't ready to accept, leaving the meeting filled with lingering resentment and emotional scars that are far from healed. While the Abbott family wrestles with its own painful divisions, an even more frightening crisis unfolds at the hospital, where Nikki Newman prepares to undergo an incredibly risky surgery. Her entire family waits anxiously outside the operating room, desperately hoping for good news while fearing the worst. Victor refuses to leave her side, choosing instead to remain at the hospital as haunting memories begin flooding his mind. He relives the painful moments when he drove Nikki out of their home, lashed out over her connection with Jack Abbott, and watched helplessly as she handed back her wedding rings. Each memory serves as another painful reminder of how deeply he wounded the woman he now fears he could lose forever. Overwhelmed with regret, Victor sincerely thanks Stephanie Simmons for caring for Nikki throughout this terrifying ordeal. Even so, Victor cannot silence the questions tormenting him. He anxiously asks whether Nikki's sudden loss of eyesight before surgery means the procedure is now even more dangerous or less likely to succeed. Stephanie answers with compassionate honesty, explaining that no one can know the outcome until the operation is complete. Victor reflects on Stephanie's remarkable history of saving Malcolm Winter's life, but she humbly shifts the credit toward Kane, acknowledging that his bone marrow donation ultimately made Malcolm's survival possible. As emotions continue building inside the waiting room, every passing minute feels unbearably long, until finally a nurse appears with the news everyone has been desperately hoping to hear. Nikki has made it through surgery. Elsewhere, the rest of the Newman family struggles to process the shocking diagnosis that has turned all of their lives upside down. Victoria Newman explains Nikki's condition to Sharon Newman and Noah Newman, revealing both the dangerous operation and the terrifying possibility that Nikki could lose her eyesight permanently. Noah cannot hide his frustration upon learning how much has been kept from him, feeling hurt that no one trusted him with the truth. Victoria gently explains that Nikki herself wanted the illness kept secret, hoping to shield her loved ones from unnecessary worry. As if the family wasn't already carrying enough emotional weight, Holden Novak arrives, and Claire Grace Newman updates him on every heartbreaking development surrounding her grandmother's medical crisis. Meanwhile, Nick Newman reaches out to Adam Newman to tell him everything that has happened. Afterward, Nick reunites with Sharon and Noah, where they encourage him to remain focused on his own recovery, despite the overwhelming family emergency unfolding around them. Nick openly admits that maintaining his sobriety has become incredibly difficult under such painful circumstances, and he asks Sharon to drive him to a meeting later so she can help keep him accountable. Even while carrying his own burdens, Nick allows himself to believe that Nikki's health crisis might somehow become the event that reunites his parents after everything they have endured. Sharon isn't nearly as optimistic. She quietly wonders whether Nikki will truly be able to forgive Victor after all the pain that exists between them. Soon afterward, Nick and Noah rush to the hospital after learning that Nikki's surgery has ended, while Claire and Victoria make their way there as well. Their hearts pound with nervous anticipation as Nikki is finally wheeled out on a gurney, her eyes completely covered with thick protective bandages. The image alone is enough to leave the family shaken. Yet, amid the fear comes a desperately needed ray of hope. The surgeon announces that the entire mass pressing against Nikki's optic nerve has been successfully removed, and the medical team is feeling genuinely optimistic about her chances. Although no one dares celebrate too early, hope quietly begins replacing despair. Tuesday, June 30th shifts the focus toward both cautious optimism and growing danger. Victoria reminds Nick that the surgery's true success cannot be measured immediately, and that everyone must remain patient while Nikki begins the difficult road toward recovery. Although early signs are encouraging, no one yet knows whether her vision will ultimately return. At the same time, another crisis continues brewing inside the Abbott family, as Tracy Abbott and Kyle become increasingly alarmed by Patty Williams's latest unpredictable behavior. Kyle fills Tracy in on everything he has been secretly doing, including following Dr. Lawrence Markham from the Abbott mansion all the way back to his own home. Every clue Kyle uncovers only strengthens his belief that Diane is trapped in a situation far more dangerous than anyone initially imagined. Inside Markham's home, Diane Jenkins Abbott continues playing an incredibly delicate and dangerous game. During one of their conversations, she casually asks Markham whether there is a psychological term describing patients who become emotionally attached to their therapists. Markham confidently assures her that such feelings are completely normal and even beneficial to the healing process. Diane responds with warm enthusiasm, telling him she is already looking forward to their next session. On the surface, the interaction appears harmless, even flirtatious, but beneath Diane's carefully constructed smile lies a much darker strategy. It becomes increasingly obvious that she is manipulating Markham just as much as he believes he is controlling her. Markham's questionable professionalism becomes impossible to ignore, as Diane subtly encourages his growing confidence, while quietly preparing her own escape. Earlier, she convinced him to provide sedatives, claiming she needed help sleeping because terrifying nightmares were keeping her awake. Now she appears surprisingly comfortable inside his home, dressed casually and moving around the kitchen almost as though she belongs there. With a dish towel in hand and every movement carefully calculated, Diane seems to be putting the final pieces of her escape plan into motion. It appears entirely possible that she intends to drug Markham using the medication he willingly provided. Every smile, every conversation, and every seemingly innocent action carries hidden purpose as Diane inches closer to risking everything for her freedom. Back at the Genoa City Athletic Club, Jill refuses to let the hostility between Billy and Kane continue unchecked. Determined to repair the fractured relationship between the two men, she brings them together for another difficult conversation. Yet, despite her best efforts, it remains painfully clear that years of resentment cannot simply disappear with a single meeting. Every exchange is weighed down by history, disappointment, and wounded pride. The question hanging over the room is whether either man is truly willing to let go of the past before it destroys their futures. As the calendar turns to Wednesday, July 1st, the atmosphere across Genoa City grows darker, and the sense of danger surrounding the Abbott family becomes impossible to ignore. Jack Abbott is determined to bring Patty Williams under control once and for all, believing that if he can distract her or lure her into a trap, he will finally have the opportunity to reach Dr. Lawrence Markham's house and rescue Diane before it is too late. Jack knows the clock is ticking, and every minute Diane spends inside that house places her in greater jeopardy. What he doesn't realize is that Patty has quietly stayed several steps ahead of him the entire time. Hidden from view, she has overheard the conversations between Jack and Kyle, learning every detail of their rescue plan without either of them suspecting a thing. The advantage now belongs entirely to Patty, making Jack's carefully crafted strategy far more dangerous than he could possibly imagine. That hidden knowledge transforms Patty into an even more unpredictable threat. Every move Jack believes is catching her off guard is actually unfolding exactly the way she expects, allowing her to anticipate his decisions before he ever makes them. The confidence Jack carries into his plan may ultimately become his greatest weakness, because he is walking into a confrontation while believing he holds the upper hand, when in reality, he may already be trapped. Kyle remains convinced that his father knows exactly what he is doing, but viewers can already sense the terrifying possibility that Jack is marching directly toward disaster. The emotional weight of the situation continues to build with every passing scene, as father and son unknowingly race toward an outcome neither of them is prepared to face. What began as a rescue mission is quickly becoming a deadly game of strategy, where one mistake could cost everything. Elsewhere in Genoa City, life attempts to carry on despite the growing chaos. At Society, Kane Ashby and Lily Winters share a quiet drink together, hoping for a rare moment of peace amid the endless pressures surrounding Chancellor and their complicated personal lives. Their conversation is unexpectedly interrupted when Matt Clark approaches, changing the tone of the evening. Although the interruption is brief, Kane sees an opportunity and asks Lily for a favor that appears closely connected to his increasingly strained relationship with Billy Abbott. Kane genuinely seems interested in reducing the hostility between them, understanding that constant conflict serves no one well, especially with Chancellor entering a new chapter under his leadership. Lily listens carefully, knowing that every decision made now could shape the company's future, as well as the relationships surrounding it. Not far away, another relationship is beginning to crack under the weight of poor choices and broken trust. Sally Spectra is left absolutely stunned when she discovers that Billy has sabotaged her newest business venture. The realization strikes with devastating force because this betrayal comes from the very man who recently announced their engagement and the exciting news that they are expecting a child together. Instead of feeling supported by the person who should be standing beside her, Sally finds herself questioning everything she believed about their future. Her disappointment quickly gives way to anger as she confronts the painful truth that Billy's unresolved emotional baggage may already be damaging the life they were supposed to build together. His long-standing issues, especially those rooted in his complicated relationship with Jill, continue influencing his decisions in destructive ways. And Sally may be reaching the point where love alone is no longer enough to overlook them. Thursday, July 2nd, shifts the focus back to the Newman family, where Victor Newman quietly begins laying the groundwork for what appears to be another heartfelt attempt to win Nikki back. Rather than revealing his intentions to anyone, Victor keeps his plans closely guarded, refusing to discuss what he is preparing behind the scenes. Those who know Victor understand that when he becomes consumed with guilt, he often responds with grand gestures meant to prove the depth of his love. This time feels no different. Having watched Nikki suffer through one of the most frightening moments of her life, Victor seems more determined than ever to repair the emotional damage he caused long before her medical crisis began. Whether Nikki is ready to forgive him remains another matter entirely. At the same time, Nate Hastings reflects on the painful turning point that permanently altered the course of his own life. He opens up to someone about the devastating accident that left him with neurological damage in his hands, forcing him to abandon the surgical career he loved. The memories are still painful, and speaking about them requires enormous emotional strength. There is also the lingering possibility that Nate mentions Devin Hamilton Winters, whose violent assault caused the injuries that ultimately ended Nate's time in the operating room. Those scars may have healed physically, but emotionally, they continue to shape who Nate has become. His willingness to revisit such painful memories reminds everyone that healing often means confronting the past instead of running from it. Meanwhile, another mystery begins unfolding as Nick Newman and Noah Newman find themselves unconvinced by something Matt Clark is trying desperately to make them believe. Whatever explanation Matt offers, it simply doesn't ring true in their eyes. Doubt begins replacing trust as father and son carefully question his motives and his version of events. Their instincts tell them that something important is being hidden beneath the surface. In Genoa City, appearances are often deceiving, and this latest interaction hints that another storyline may soon explode into something much larger than anyone expects. By Friday, July 3rd, the tension surrounding Jack and Diane reaches an almost unbearable level. Kyle seeks out Tracy Abbott, hoping she has heard from Jack after he left to execute his dangerous rescue mission. Instead, Tracy can offer him nothing but worried silence. The absence of any communication immediately fills Kyle with dread, and the fear he has been trying to suppress suddenly becomes impossible to ignore. With growing panic in his voice, Kyle admits that his father may be in very real danger. Every passing hour without news only strengthens that terrifying possibility. Kyle refuses to stand by and do nothing. Determined to save Diane himself if necessary, he makes his way toward Dr. Markham's property, carefully remaining hidden among the trees as he watches the house from a distance. The situation is unbearably tense as Kyle makes an urgent phone call while keeping his eyes fixed on the building where his mother remains trapped. Originally, Jack insisted on entering the house alone because he wanted to protect Kyle from whatever dangers waited inside. It was a father's instinctive decision to shield his son from harm. But if Patty has already acted against Jack after deciding she can no longer trust him, then that sacrifice may have left both father and son facing unimaginable consequences. The possibility that Jack has vanished without a trace hangs over every moment. Patty's increasingly unstable behavior makes her capable of almost anything. And because she already knew the rescue plan in advance, she has had ample time to prepare her own response. Kyle realizes that what began as an effort to rescue Diane may now require saving Jack as well. Suddenly, the mission has become even more dangerous than anyone anticipated. Instead of one family member trapped in peril, two of the people Kyle loves most may now be fighting for their lives at the same time. The suspense surrounding the Abbott family reaches a fever pitch as viewers are left wondering who will emerge safely and who may not. As the week of July 6th through July 10th begins, the danger only intensifies. Kyle and Jack appear to be walking deeper into Patty's web with every decision they make. Time after time, Patty seems to remain 2 steps ahead, anticipating their movements before they can even act. Her ability to stand control creates an overwhelming sense of uncertainty, making every scene feel like it could suddenly take a devastating turn. The Abbotts are no longer simply trying to rescue Diane. They are struggling to survive a carefully orchestrated psychological battle against an opponent who refuses to play by anyone else's rules. Inside Markham's house, Diane finally prepares to make her bold escape attempt. Every moment she has spent earning Markham's trust has been leading toward this single opportunity. She believes she has carefully manipulated the situation in her favor, using charm, patience, and intelligence to create the perfect opening. Yet, escape may prove far more difficult than she expects. If Markham sees through her deception, or realizes what she is trying to do, Diane could find herself in an even worse situation than before. The risk is enormous, but remaining where she is may be even more dangerous, leaving her with no choice except to gamble everything on one desperate chance at freedom.